So your melody sounds good, but you're looking to give it some extra spice and that final bit of interest. Let's find out how you can do this, and let's get creative. We're going to use suspensions to spice up our melody. And I find this to be a very elegant and effective way to add interest and color. And my friend Johan agrees. There goes quite a lot of theory and history behind the use of suspensions, but in this video I'll boil it down to an easy and immediately usable technique. Suspensions happen when the harmony changes, but the tone from the previous chord is sustained or repeated. When the harmony changes, the sustained tone becomes a non-chord tone, and this means that this tone is not part of the underlying chord. Traditionally, this tone should resolve downwards in a stepwise motion. For today I wrote a very standard melody and chord progression, so the changes will be extra clear. So this is definitely not the world's most interesting melody. So let's try and add some interest by using suspensions. I'm going to sustain notes from previous bars to see if I can get something more colorful. All of the suspensions that I use here are called prepared suspensions because the sustained tone is part of the previous harmony. Let's hear what that sounds like. Straight off the bat you can notice a couple of things. Some of the rhythms have changed, some of the notes create more tension than others, and 2 out of 3 suspensions resolve upwards. I wrote numbers above the notes to show you what function the tone gets when it's sustained. The F sharp is the major 7th of the G chord and resolves upwards to the octave. And the suspension of F sharp in the last bar is the major 6th of the A chord and it resolves downwards into a perfect 5th. But I don't like the repetition of the same suspension on the G chord. So I'm going to try something different here. And I also want to explore a different suspension in the last bar. For example, on the G chord in the second phrase, if I resolve the F sharp downwards, it will resolve to an E, which is the major 6th of G. But instead of stopping here, I can use the E as a passing tone to make a stepwise connection to the D. Also, I changed some of the tones in the last bars to create a different suspension. So far all of the suspensions have been prepared suspensions. But we also have unprepared suspensions, and they are, well, more surprising and more direct. So let's check it out. So the 4/3 suspensions in the third bar and in the final bar were the unprepared suspensions in this case. And maybe this one was a bit over the top with all the suspensions, but of course this was just an example. Adding suspensions improves the melodic interest, it can increase the rhythmic activity, and adds more color in combination with your melody and harmony. But of course take it easy with them, because you don't want to overdo it. So don't copy my last example. One thing you need to keep in mind is that suspensions are most noticeable and powerful when you use simple chords underneath, like triads. Because when your chord has a lot of extensions, the suspension will lose its power and might even go unnoticed completely. As I mentioned in the introduction, there's definitely more to explore when it comes to suspensions, like decorated suspensions, unresolved ones, suspension chains, but I promise to keep it concise, and I think this should be enough to kickstart some of your melodies already. And in the meantime, when you're working on some new melodies, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. And for now, see you next time.